This object is 700 years old. It was made in Nigeria, and it has been sitting in a museum in London for 127 years, stolen. When Portuguese sailors first arrived at Benin City in 1485, they wrote home to their king. They said they had found a city, in Africa that rivaled any Europe, wide streets, a royal palace larger than the city of Lisbon, hundreds of thousands of people living in order and prosperity. Then, in 1897, the British came, not as traders, as an army. They burned Benin City to the ground, looted over 3,000 of its greatest artworks, sold them to pay for the attack, and told the world that Africans had never built anything worth remembering. That is the lie this video is here to correct. The Benin Kingdom began around 900 AD in the forest zone of what is now southern Nigeria. Over the next 5 centuries, it grew into one of the most powerful states in sub-Saharan Africa. By 1400, it controlled trade routes stretching thousands of miles. By 1500, it had diplomatic relations with Portugal, the Netherlands, and through North African routes, the Ottoman Empire. Benin City was planned. The streets ran in straight lines from a central palace. Each street was assigned to a guild, the brass casters on one street, the ivory carvers on another, the leather workers on the next. The city had a sanitation system, a public order system, a court of law. This was not a village, this was a metropolis. At the heart of Benin City stood the palace of the Oba, or the divine king. It covered an area larger than the entire city of Winchester in medieval England. Its walls were decorated with hundreds of bronze plaques showing court scenes, military victories, and diplomatic encounters. This was the world's first royal pictorial record, a bronze library of a kingdom's entire history. The Benin bronzes are technically made of brass, not bronze, number in the thousands. They depicted obas, warriors, court officials, and foreign visitors. Portuguese soldiers appear on some plaques, proving direct contact with Europe from the late 1400s. Each piece was cast using the lost wax method, a technique requiring precision that most European foundries wouldn't master until centuries later. In 1485, the Portuguese explorer João Afonso de Aveiro became the first European to make official contact with the Kingdom of Benin. What he saw shook him. He had expected to find scattered villages. Instead, he was met at the coast by a disciplined delegation representing one of the most powerful kings he had ever encountered. The Portuguese envoy was received in a throne room that left him speechless. He wrote that the Oba sat upon a raised throne of ivory, surrounded by officials of extraordinary dignity, in a hall whose proportions and decorations surpassed anything he had seen in Europe. He was not meeting a chief. He was meeting a king who knew he was a king. The trade relationship that followed was extraordinarily sophisticated. Benin exported pepper, ivory, cotton cloth, and enslaved people. Portugal provided copper, which Benin's bronze casters needed desperately, along with coral, beads that became symbols of Oba power. The Oba controlled every transaction. No one traded in Benin without the palace taking a percentage. It was a modern state running a modern economy. The Benin-Portugal relationship was so significant that the Oba sent an ambassador to Lisbon in 1514. He was received by King Manuel I with full diplomatic honors. A portrait of a Benin dignitary was circulated in Europe, one of the first dignified images of a West African ever published in European media. For nearly a century, Benin and Portugal were equal partners in one of the Atlantic world's most important trading relationships. In January 1897, a British diplomatic mission attempted to enter Benin during a sacred ceremony the Oba had specifically asked them to avoid. The mission was attacked. 7 British officials died. The British response was instant and overwhelming. A punitive expedition of 1,200 troops marched on Benin City. In February 1897, they burned it to the ground. What happened next was systematic looting on an industrial scale. Over 3,000 bronze plaques, ivory carvings, and sacred objects were removed from the palace and shrines. They were sold by the British government to fund the expedition that had just destroyed the city. German museums bought hundreds. The British Museum took more. Private collectors from across Europe snapped up the rest. Today, Benin bronzes are held in over 160 institutions across 20 countries. The British Museum has over 700. Berlin has over 500. And for 127 years, the standard response to any request for return was, "We are the best custodians." They said this to the descendants of the people from whom the objects were stolen. They said it for 127 years. But the story doesn't end in 1897. In 2021, Germany announced it would return its entire collection. In 2022, the Smithsonian returned 29 pieces. In 2023, Cambridge University returned 116. The Benin Royal Museum, built to house the returning objects, opened its doors. The bronzes are coming home. 127 years later, they are coming home. The Benin Empire teaches us that African civilization was not waiting to be discovered by Europeans. It was already there, sophisticated, confident, globally connected, and extraordinarily creative. The artworks Europeans stole were not curious objects from a primitive culture. They were the product of one of the most technically advanced artistic traditions on earth. And the people who made them never stopped. The Benin Empire, established around 900 AD, still standing. The Oba of Benin sits on his throne today, in direct lineage from the kings whose faces are cast in bronze in museums across the world. The empire that Britain tried to erase in 1897 is still here. That is the real story. If this story moved you, share it. Because 3,000 bronzes were stolen so this history could be erased. Every time you share it, you bring one back. There are 98 more stories where this came from. I'll see you in the next one.